Imagine two people facing the exact same challenge. Both just lost their jobs. Both have bills to pay. Both are uncertain about their future. But there's one crucial difference between them. The first person wakes up every morning consumed by worry, scrolling through job listings with desperation, telling everyone who will listen about how difficult the market is, how unfair life is, how nothing ever works out for them. They approach every interview expecting rejection, every opportunity expecting disappointment. The second person wakes up with a different energy entirely. They don't ignore the challenge, but they operate from a fundamentally different assumption. They act as if everything is working out perfectly, even when they can't see how. They prepare for interviews as if they're already the right fit. They network as if valuable connections are inevitable. They make decisions as if success is not a possibility, but a certainty. 6 months later, guess which person has transformed their entire life? This isn't about positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. This is about understanding a profound psychological principle that the most successful people in history have mastered, often without even realizing it. When you act as if everything always works out, you don't just change your mindset. You change your brain, your behavior, your energy, and ultimately, your results. Today, you're going to discover why this simple shift in assumption is the most powerful tool you have for creating the life you want. You're going to understand the science behind why acting as if literally rewires your neural pathways, opens doors that seemed closed, and creates opportunities where none existed before. This is not about blind optimism or ignoring reality. This is about operating from a place of strategic certainty that transforms how you show up in the world. Are you ready to discover what happens when you stop hoping things will work out and start acting as if they already have? Chapter 1. The Psychology of Certainty. Most people live their lives from a place of uncertainty, constantly wondering if things will work out, if they're making the right decisions, if they're capable of achieving their dreams. This uncertainty creates a mental and emotional state that actually works against them in every area of their life. But there's a small group of individuals who operate from a completely different psychological foundation. They've discovered the power of certainty, and it changes everything. Certainty is not about knowing exactly how things will unfold. It's about having an unshakable belief that things will work out in your favor, regardless of current circumstances. This belief system creates a fundamentally different way of moving through the world. When you're certain that everything always works out, you make different decisions. You take different risks. You persist longer. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. The neuroscience behind certainty is fascinating. When your brain operates from a place of certainty, it activates the reticular activating system in a completely different way. This is the part of your brain that filters information and decides what deserves your attention. When you're uncertain and fearful, your brain focuses on threats, problems, and potential failures. But when you're certain that things always work out, your brain starts scanning for opportunities, solutions, and possibilities. Think about the last time you were absolutely certain about something. Maybe you were certain you would find a parking spot, or certain you would enjoy a movie everyone recommended, or certain a friend would help you when you needed it. Notice how that certainty changed your entire approach. You didn't waste mental energy worrying about what might go wrong. You didn't create backup plans for failure. You simply moved forward with confidence, and that confidence itself became a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the power of psychological certainty. It's not about being naive or ignoring real challenges. It's about choosing to operate from a mental framework that serves you rather than sabotages you. When you act as if everything always works out, you're not lying to yourself. You're aligning your psychology with success. The most successful entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, and leaders in history have all shared this common trait. They operated from a place of certainty, even when external circumstances suggested uncertainty. Walt Disney was certain his vision for Disneyland would succeed even when 300 banks rejected his funding request. Oprah Winfrey was certain she belonged in media, even when executives told her she was unfit for television. Steve Jobs was certain people would want a computer in their homes, even when industry experts said it was impossible. But here's what's crucial to understand. Their certainty didn't come from having all the answers or knowing exactly how things would unfold. Their certainty came from a deep, unwavering belief that things would work out in their favor. And this belief shaped every decision they made, every risk they took, every challenge they faced. When you develop this kind of certainty, you stop second-guessing yourself constantly. You stop seeking validation from others before making important decisions. You stop waiting for perfect conditions before taking action. Instead, you move with the confidence of someone who knows that regardless of temporary setbacks or unexpected challenges, everything is ultimately working in your favor. This shift in psychology creates what researchers call learned optimism, but it goes deeper than optimism. Optimism hopes things will work out. Certainty knows they will. This knowledge changes how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you make decisions, and how others perceive and respond to you. People are naturally drawn to certainty. When you operate from this place, others sense it immediately. They want to work with you, invest in you, and support you because your certainty gives them confidence too. This creates a positive feedback loop where your inner certainty attracts external support, which reinforces your certainty, which attracts even more support. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of psychological certainty is how it affects your relationship with failure and setbacks. When you're certain that everything always works out, temporary failures become simply redirect signals, not evidence that you're on the wrong path. Setbacks become setups for comebacks. Closed doors become indicators that better doors are about to open. This doesn't mean you become reckless or stop planning. It means you plan from a place of strength rather than fear. You prepare for success rather than just trying to avoid failure. You make decisions based on what you want to create rather than what you're afraid might happen. The question isn't whether this approach will change your results. The question is whether you're ready to embrace the responsibility that comes with this level of certainty. Because once you start acting as if everything always works out, you can no longer blame external circumstances for your outcomes. You become the primary force in creating your reality. Chapter 2. Rewiring your brain for success. Your brain is not fixed. This single fact represents one of the most important discoveries in neuroscience over the past 50 years. The concept of neuroplasticity has shown us that your brain continuously rewires itself based on your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors throughout your entire life. This means that every time you act as if everything always works out, you're literally creating new neural pathways that support success, and dissolving old pathways that supported struggle. Most people unknowingly train their brains for failure. Every time they worry about what might go wrong, every time they catastrophize about potential problems, every time they tell themselves they're not good enough or smart enough or lucky enough, they're strengthening neural networks that support these limiting beliefs. They're literally rewiring their brains to expect and create more struggle. But when you consistently act as if everything always works out, you begin rewiring your brain in the opposite direction. You start strengthening neural pathways associated with confidence, resourcefulness, optimism, and solution-focused thinking. Over time, these positive patterns become your default mode of operation. The process begins with what neuroscientists call cognitive restructuring. Every time you catch yourself thinking from a place of fear or uncertainty, you have an opportunity to consciously choose a different thought. Instead of, "What if this doesn't work?" you can think, "This is working out perfectly, even if I can't see how yet." Instead of, "I don't know if I can handle this," you can think, "I have everything I need to navigate this successfully." This isn't about forcing fake positive thoughts over genuine concerns. It's about training your brain to default to a more empowering interpretation of events. Your brain is constantly making meaning of your experiences, and you have far more control over that meaning-making process than you realize. The reticular activating system plays a crucial role in this rewiring process. This network of neurons in your brainstem acts like a filter, determining what information from your environment deserves your conscious attention. When you program it with the belief that everything always works out, it begins highlighting evidence that supports this belief while filtering out information that contradicts it. This isn't about ignoring reality or becoming delusional. It's about recognizing that your brain is already filtering reality based on your existing beliefs and choosing to filter in a way that serves you. If you believe life is hard and nothing good ever happens to you, your reticular activating system will find plenty of evidence to support that belief. If you believe everything always works out in your favor, it will find evidence to support that belief instead. The key is consistency. Neural pathways are strengthened through repetition. Every time you choose to act as if everything is working out perfectly, you're sending electrical impulses down specific neural pathways. The more you repeat this pattern, the stronger these pathways become. Eventually, thinking from this place of certainty becomes automatic. Visualization plays a powerful role in this rewiring process. When you regularly visualize yourself successfully navigating challenges, achieving your goals, and living the life you desire, your brain begins to treat these mental images as real experiences. This creates neural pathways associated with success before you've even achieved it in the external world. Mirror neurons, discovered in the 1990s, add another dimension to this process. These specialized brain cells fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. This means that spending time around people who naturally act as if everything works out for them actually helps rewire your own brain for the same mindset. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and decision-making, also transforms when you consistently operate from certainty. Instead of being consumed by worry and worst-case scenarios, it becomes focused on solution-finding and opportunity recognition. This shift dramatically improves your ability to make clear, confident decisions under pressure. Sleep and dreams even play a role in this rewiring process. During sleep, your brain consolidates the neural patterns you've been strengthening during the day. When you go to bed with thoughts of certainty and confidence, Your brain literally works overnight to make these patterns stronger and more automatic. The stress response system in your body also begins to change. When you truly believe everything always works out, your nervous system spends less time in fight or flight mode and more time in a state of calm alertness. This not only improves your mental clarity and creativity, but also boosts your immune system, improves your sleep, and increases your overall energy levels. Perhaps most importantly, this rewiring process affects what psychologists call your locus of control. People with an internal locus of control believe they have significant influence over their outcomes, while those with an external locus of control believe they're at the mercy of external circumstances. Acting as if everything always works out strengthens your internal locus of control, making you feel more empowered and capable of creating positive change in your life. The beautiful thing about neuroplasticity is that it's never too late to start this rewiring process. Whether you're 20 or 70, your brain maintains its ability to form new neural pathways. The key is making the conscious choice to consistently think, speak, and act from a place of certainty rather than uncertainty. This rewiring doesn't happen overnight, but the changes begin immediately. Within days of consistently acting as if everything works out, you'll notice subtle shifts in your mood, energy, and decision-making. Within weeks, these changes become more pronounced. Within months, operating from certainty becomes your natural default. Chapter 3. The self-fulfilling prophecy effect. One of the most powerful psychological phenomena that explains why acting as if everything always works out is so effective is the self-fulfilling prophecy. This concept describes how our beliefs and expectations about future events actually influence our behavior in ways that make those events more likely to occur. When you truly believe that everything works out in your favor, you unconsciously begin acting in ways that create exactly that outcome. The self-fulfilling prophecy operates on multiple levels simultaneously. At the most basic level, your beliefs shape your perceptions. When you expect things to work out well, you notice opportunities, possibilities, and positive signs that someone with a pessimistic outlook would completely miss. This isn't about seeing things that aren't there. It's about seeing things that were always there but were previously invisible to your expectation-filtered awareness. Your expectations also directly influence your behavior in ways you're not even conscious of. When you expect success, you prepare differently. You show up with more confidence. You persist longer when facing obstacles. You take calculated risks that someone expecting failure would never consider. You invest more energy and resources because you believe in the eventual payoff. Consider how this plays out in social interactions. When you act as if everything always works out, people sense your confidence and certainty. They respond to you differently than they would to someone who seems anxious, desperate, or uncertain. They're more likely to trust you, support you, offer you opportunities, and want to be associated with your success. Your inner certainty literally changes how others behave toward you. This effect is particularly powerful in professional settings. When you walk into a job interview, acting as if you're already the right fit for the position, your entire demeanor changes. You ask better questions, give more confident answers, and project the kind of energy that makes employers want to hire you. You're not being arrogant or presumptuous. You're simply operating from a place of calm certainty that influences everything about how you show up. The same principle applies to entrepreneurship. When you start a business acting as if its success is inevitable, you make different choices. You invest in quality. You build relationships as if they're long-term partnerships. You solve problems with creativity and persistence because failure simply isn't part of your mental model. Customers and investors sense this certainty and respond with greater confidence in your venture. In relationships, the self-fulfilling prophecy effect is equally powerful. When you act as if you deserve love, respect, and genuine connection, you attract people who are capable of providing these things. When you expect to be treated well, you don't tolerate poor treatment. When you believe healthy relationships are possible for you, you make choices that support the creation of such relationships. The self-fulfilling prophecy also operates through what researchers call behavioral confirmation. When you expect positive outcomes, you unconsciously encourage others to behave in ways that create those outcomes. Your positive expectations actually bring out the best in other people, which in turn creates the positive experiences you were expecting. But perhaps the most profound aspect of the self-fulfilling prophecy is how it affects your relationship with failure and setbacks. When you truly believe that everything always works out, temporary failures become simply course corrections rather than evidence that you're on the wrong path. This perspective allows you to extract lessons from setbacks without becoming discouraged, to pivot quickly when necessary, and to maintain the emotional resilience needed for long-term success. The prophecy becomes self-reinforcing. Each time things do work out as you expected, your belief in this pattern becomes stronger. Each success reinforces your certainty, which influences your future behavior, which creates more success. This positive feedback loop can transform your entire life trajectory over time. However, it's crucial to understand that the self-fulfilling prophecy isn't magic. It's not about sitting back and waiting for good things to happen simply because you believe they will. It's about how your beliefs influence your actions and how your actions influence your results. The prophecy fulfills itself through the pathway of inspired, confident action. This is why the phrase, "act as if," is so important. You're not just believing that everything will work out. You're acting in alignment with that belief. You're making decisions, taking risks, and investing energy as if the positive outcome is certain. This alignment between belief and behavior is what activates the self-fulfilling prophecy. The scientific research on this phenomenon is extensive and compelling. Studies have shown that students perform better when their teachers expect them to succeed. Athletes perform better when they expect to win. Patients recover faster when they expect to heal. In every area of human performance, expectations have a measurable impact on outcomes. What makes this particularly powerful is that you don't have to wait for external validation to start this process. You can begin acting as if everything always works out right now, regardless of your current circumstances. The moment you make this shift, you begin influencing your future outcomes through the choices you make today. The self-fulfilling prophecy also explains why some people seem to be naturally lucky, while others seem to attract one problem after another. It's not that the universe has favorites. It's that people with positive expectations create positive outcomes through the mechanisms of perception, behavior, and social influence. Understanding this principle puts you in the driver's seat of your own destiny. You realize that your expectations aren't just passive predictions about the future. They're active forces that shape your future through their influence on your present moment choices and behaviors. Chapter 4. Overcoming the fear of uncertainty. Fear of uncertainty is perhaps the greatest obstacle to acting as if everything always works out. Most people are paralyzed by not knowing exactly how their goals will be achieved, what challenges they might face, or whether their efforts will ultimately pay off. This need for certainty before taking action keeps them stuck in analysis paralysis, waiting for guarantees that will never come. But here's a profound truth that successful people understand. Uncertainty isn't your enemy. It's your greatest opportunity. When you learn to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it, you gain access to possibilities that are completely unavailable to those who need to see the entire staircase before taking the first step. The fear of uncertainty is deeply rooted in our evolutionary programming. Our ancestors survived by being cautious, by anticipating threats, by staying within familiar territory where they understood the rules. This programming served them well in a world of physical dangers, but in today's world of infinite possibilities, this same programming often holds us back from creating the extraordinary life we're capable of living. Modern life requires a different relationship with uncertainty. The people who thrive in today's rapidly changing world are those who have learned to see uncertainty as excitement rather than anxiety, as potential rather than threat, as freedom rather than limitation. They understand that uncertainty means anything is possible, including outcomes far better than they could have planned or predicted. The key to overcoming fear of uncertainty is recognizing that certainty is largely an illusion anyway. Even the things that seem most certain in your life could change unexpectedly. Your job could be eliminated. Your health could shift. The economy could fluctuate. Relationships could evolve. The only real certainty is change itself. Once you accept that uncertainty is the fundamental nature of life, you can stop fighting it and start leveraging it. Instead of trying to control every variable, you can focus on controlling the one thing you always have power over: how you respond to whatever happens. This shift from trying to control outcomes to trusting your ability to handle outcomes is life-changing. Acting as if everything always works out doesn't mean you believe you can predict or control every detail of your future. It means you believe in your ability to turn whatever happens into something beneficial. It means you trust that even when things don't go according to plan, they're going according to a larger plan that serves your highest good. This perspective transforms your relationship with risk. When you're afraid of uncertainty, risk feels dangerous and threatening. But when you believe everything always works out, risk becomes simply another word for opportunity. You realize that the biggest risk is actually not taking risks, because playing it safe guarantees you'll never discover what you're truly capable of achieving. The fear of uncertainty often manifests as perfectionism. People delay taking action because they want to have the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect resources. But perfection is just another form of procrastination. It's a way of avoiding uncertainty by trying to control variables that can't be controlled. Acting as if everything always works out allows you to embrace what researchers call optimal imperfection. You can take action with incomplete information, imperfect plans, and limited resources because you trust in your ability to adjust, adapt, and improve as you go. You understand that course correction is easier than perfect direction. One of the most powerful ways to overcome fear of uncertainty is to reframe your relationship with failure. Most people fear uncertainty because they're afraid of failing. But when you act as if everything always works out, you realize that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Every outcome gives you valuable information that helps you make better decisions moving forward. This shift allows you to take what researchers call intelligent risks. These are risks where the potential upside significantly outweighs the potential downside, but most people won't take them because they can't guarantee the outcome. When you're not afraid of uncertainty, you can evaluate risks based on probability and potential rather than needing certainty. Another way to embrace uncertainty is to focus on building what Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragility. This is the ability to not just survive uncertainty, but to actually get stronger from it. When you act as if everything always works out, you develop this anti-fragility because you approach challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats to avoid. The practice of mindfulness can be incredibly helpful in overcoming fear of uncertainty. When you're fully present in the current moment, you're not projecting fearful scenarios about the future or ruminating about past failures. You're simply here, now, able to respond to whatever is actually happening rather than what you imagine might happen. Building tolerance for uncertainty is like building a muscle. You start with small uncertainties and gradually work up to larger ones. Maybe you take a different route to work without planning it first. Maybe you start a conversation without knowing exactly what you'll say. Maybe you apply for an opportunity without meeting every qualification. Each small act of embracing uncertainty builds your confidence for handling larger uncertainties. The people who create extraordinary lives are not those who eliminate uncertainty. They're those who learn to dance with it. They understand that uncertainty is where magic happens, where breakthroughs occur, where dreams become reality. They know that the most beautiful destinations are often reached by paths they never could have mapped out in advance. Chapter 5. The Power of Assumption in Daily Life. The assumptions you make about your daily life have a profound impact on the quality of your experiences and the results you create. Most people don't realize how many assumptions they're constantly making, or how these assumptions shape everything from their morning routine to their most important relationships. When you begin acting as if everything always works out, you're essentially choosing to make empowering assumptions rather than limiting ones. Consider how assumptions affect something as simple as your commute to work. If you assume traffic will be terrible and you'll be stressed and late, you approach your journey from a place of anxiety and resistance. You leave later than you should, drive aggressively, get frustrated by delays, and arrive at work in a negative state that affects your entire day. But if you assume your commute will be smooth and pleasant, you prepare differently. You leave with adequate time, play music you enjoy, use any delays as opportunities for reflection or planning, and arrive at work in a positive state. The remarkable thing is that these different assumptions often create different outcomes, even when external conditions are the same. You're relaxed. Positive energy while driving tends to create a more pleasant experience. You notice things you would have missed while stressed. You're more patient with other drivers, which creates a more harmonious flow. You arrive at work not just in a better mood, but often having had insights or ideas during your peaceful commute. This principle extends to every area of daily life. When you assume that people generally mean well, you interpret their actions more generously and respond with more kindness, which typically brings out better behavior in them. When you assume that challenges are opportunities for growth, you approach problems with curiosity rather than resistance, which leads to more creative solutions. In your work life, the power of assumptions is extraordinary. When you assume that your colleagues want to collaborate and succeed together, you communicate more openly and build stronger relationships. When you assume that your boss wants you to succeed, you're more likely to ask for feedback, seek challenging projects, and demonstrate initiative. When you assume that your work matters and makes a difference, you bring more passion and creativity to your tasks. These assumptions literally change your physiology. When you assume positive outcomes, your nervous system operates from a state of calm alertness rather than anxious vigilance. Your body produces different hormones. Your immune system functions better. Your sleep improves, and your energy levels increase. You're not just thinking differently. You're literally becoming a different person at the cellular level. The assumption that everything always works out is particularly powerful in social situations. When you enter a networking event assuming you'll meet interesting people and create valuable connections, you behave completely differently than when you assume it will be awkward and unproductive. You make eye contact more readily, start conversations more easily, listen more attentively, and leave contact information more confidently. In romantic relationships, assumptions are often the difference between thriving partnerships and struggling ones. When you assume your partner loves you and wants the best for you, you interpret their actions through this lens of love. When they're quiet, you might assume they're tired rather than angry. When they suggest something different, you might assume they're trying to enhance your experience together rather than criticize your ideas. Financial abundance is also heavily influenced by your daily assumptions. When you assume there's always enough money for what truly matters, you make different spending decisions. You invest in your growth, you're generous with others, and you focus on creating value rather than just cutting expenses. This mindset often leads to increased income because you're operating from abundance rather than scarcity. Even your health is affected by your assumptions. When you assume your body is strong and capable of healing, you make different choices about food, exercise, sleep, and stress management. You're more likely to try new activities, less likely to catastrophize minor symptoms, and more likely to take proactive steps to maintain your well-being. The key to leveraging assumptions is becoming conscious of them. Most people make assumptions automatically, based on past experiences, family programming, or cultural conditioning. But when you become aware that you're constantly making assumptions anyway, you realize you might as well choose assumptions that serve you. This doesn't mean ignoring obvious red flags or being naive about genuine risks. It means defaulting to the most empowering interpretation when the evidence is ambiguous. It means giving people and situations the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. It means assuming that the universe is conspiring in your favor rather than against you. One practical way to implement this is through what you might call assumption awareness. Throughout your day, notice the assumptions you're making about upcoming events, other people's motivations, potential outcomes, and your own capabilities. When you catch yourself making limiting assumptions, consciously choose more empowering ones instead. Another powerful practice is assumption journaling. At the end of each day, reflect on the assumptions you made and how they influenced your experiences. Notice the correlation between positive assumptions and positive outcomes, between fearful assumptions and stressful experiences. This awareness helps you become more intentional about the assumptions you choose to make. The cumulative effect of making empowering assumptions day after day is transformational. You begin to live in a different reality, not because external circumstances have changed, but because you're interpreting and responding to those circumstances from a completely different framework. You discover that assumption is not just a mental activity, but a creative force that shapes your actual experience of life. Chapter 6: Energy and Vibration. Becoming a magnet for success. Everything in the universe is energy, including you. This isn't mystical thinking. It's quantum physics. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you hold creates a specific energetic frequency. When you act as if everything always works out, you're not just changing your mindset. You're literally changing your energetic vibration. And this shift makes you a magnet for the experiences, opportunities, and people that align with success. Most people unknowingly vibrate at the frequency of their problems rather than their solutions. They think about what they don't want, worry about what might go wrong, and focus on current limitations. This creates an energetic signature that attracts more of the same. It's like tuning your radio to a station of struggle and then wondering why you only hear songs of difficulty. But when you consistently act as if everything always works out, you tune into a completely different frequency. You begin vibrating at the level of solutions, possibilities, and positive outcomes. This energetic shift doesn't just change how you feel, it changes what you attract into your life. Like energy attracts like energy, and success attracts success. Understanding this principle changes everything about how you approach your goals. Instead of trying to force outcomes through sheer willpower or manipulation, you learn to align your energy with what you desire and allow success to flow to you naturally. This doesn't mean becoming passive or waiting for things to happen. It means taking inspired action from a place of high vibration rather than desperate action from a place of fear or lack. Your energetic state affects every interaction you have. When you're vibrating at the frequency of certainty and positive expectation, people feel it immediately. They're drawn to your confidence, inspired by your vision, and want to be part of whatever you're creating. Conversely, when you're vibrating at the frequency of doubt and desperation, people sense that too, and they instinctively pull away or respond from their own place of caution and uncertainty. This is why networking events, job interviews, and first dates often go better when you're not trying too hard. When you show up from a place of genuine confidence and positive expectation, rather than need and desperation, you create an entirely different energetic dynamic. You attract people and opportunities that are aligned with your higher vibration rather than repelling them with your lower one. The key to maintaining a high vibration is understanding that your energetic state is a choice you make moment by moment. External circumstances don't determine your vibration. Your response to those circumstances does. You can be in the middle of a challenging situation and still choose to vibrate at the frequency of someone who knows everything will work out perfectly. This doesn't mean forcing fake positivity or ignoring genuine emotions. It means feeling whatever you're feeling fully, then consciously choosing to align with the energy of your desired outcome, rather than staying stuck in the energy of your current problem. It's about emotional agility, rather than emotional suppression. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to raise your vibration. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you automatically align with the frequency of abundance rather than lack. This isn't about pretending to be grateful for things you don't actually appreciate. It's about genuinely recognizing and appreciating the good that already exists in your life, which creates more good to be grateful for. Your physical body also affects your energetic vibration. When you take care of your health, move your body regularly, eat nourishing foods, and get adequate rest, you naturally maintain a higher vibration. When you neglect your physical well-being, your energy becomes dense and sluggish, making it harder to maintain the high-frequency state that attracts success. The environments you spend time in also influence your vibration. Cluttered, chaotic, or negative environments tend to lower your frequency, while clean, organized, and aesthetically pleasing environments help you maintain a higher vibration. This is why successful people often invest in creating beautiful, inspiring spaces around themselves. The content you consume affects your vibration too. When you regularly expose yourself to negative news, gossip, or entertainment that promotes fear and drama, you absorb those frequencies and they become part of your energetic signature. But when you consciously choose to consume uplifting, educational, and inspiring content, you feed your mind with high vibration frequencies that support your success. Music has a particularly powerful effect on vibration. Different types of music create different energetic states. When you choose music that makes you feel confident, inspired, and positive, you're using sound to tune your energetic frequency to match your desired outcomes. Many successful people have specific playlists they use to get into the right energetic state for important activities. The language you use also affects your vibration. Words carry energy, and the words you speak both reflect and create your energetic state. When you speak with certainty about your goals, express gratitude for your experiences, and use language that assumes positive outcomes, you're using the power of speech to maintain a high vibration. Your breathing patterns are directly connected to your energetic state. When you breathe deeply and consciously, you create space for high vibration energy to flow through you. When your breathing is shallow and restricted, usually due to stress or tension, your energy becomes constricted too. Learning to use your breath as a tool for managing your vibration is one of the most practical skills you can develop. Visualization is another powerful tool for managing your energetic frequency. When you regularly spend time visualizing your desired outcomes as already achieved, you attune your energy to those experiences before they manifest in the physical world. This creates an energetic blueprint that guides your actions and attracts the people and opportunities needed to make your vision reality. The company you keep has a profound effect on your vibration. Energy is contagious, and you inevitably absorb some of the frequency of the people you spend the most time with. When you surround yourself with positive, ambitious, grateful people who also believe that everything works out, their energy supports and amplifies your own high vibration. Perhaps most importantly, acting as if everything always works out creates what you might call energetic momentum. Each time you choose to respond to a situation from this high vibration place, you make it easier to maintain that frequency in the future. Over time, this becomes your natural energetic set point, making you a consistent magnet for success, rather than someone who occasionally attracts good things when conditions are perfect. Chapter 7. Transforming setbacks into setups. One of the greatest tests of acting as if everything always works out comes when you face apparent setbacks, failures, or disappointments. These moments reveal whether you truly believe in the principle or whether you only apply it when things are going well. The people who master this mindset understand that setbacks aren't evidence that things aren't working out. They're simply part of how things work out. Every setback contains within it the seeds of an even greater comeback. This isn't feel-good philosophy. It's a practical truth that becomes visible when you learn to look for it. The job rejection that leads you to start your own business. The relationship that ends and makes space for your soulmate. The financial loss that teaches you lessons that ultimately make you wealthy. The health challenge that forces you to discover strength you never knew you had. When you truly act as if everything always works out, you approach setbacks with curiosity rather than devastation. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "How is this serving my highest good?" Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you see yourself as a student in the university of life, receiving exactly the education you need for your next level of growth. This perspective completely changes how you respond to challenging situations. Instead of wasting energy on blame, resentment, or self-pity, you immediately begin looking for the opportunity hidden within the challenge. You trust that there's information, strength, or redirection that you need, even if you can't see it clearly in the moment. The key is understanding that setbacks often occur because you're being guided towards something better than what you originally planned. Your conscious mind might have a specific idea of how your success should unfold, but there's a larger intelligence at work that sees possibilities beyond your current awareness. What looks like a detour or delay from your limited perspective is often a shortcut or upgrade from the broader view. This doesn't mean becoming passive or failing to learn from mistakes. It means maintaining your forward momentum and positive expectation even when external circumstances suggest you should give up. It means extracting the maximum value from every experience while staying focused on your ultimate destination rather than getting stuck in the temporary landscape of your current challenge. Resilience becomes much easier when you truly believe that everything is working in your favor. Instead of having to muster the strength to overcome obstacles, you simply need to stay curious about how each obstacle is serving your success. This shift from resistance to curiosity dramatically reduces the emotional drain that setbacks typically create. The most successful people in history have all faced significant setbacks, but they shared a common ability to reframe these experiences as essential parts of their success story. Steve Jobs being fired from Apple led him to start Pixar and ultimately return to Apple with the vision and experience needed to create the iPhone. Oprah Winfrey's traumatic childhood gave her the empathy and authenticity that made her the world's most beloved media personality. When you act as if everything always works out, you begin to see patterns that were invisible before. You notice how certain setbacks actually saved you from bigger problems down the road. You recognize how disappointments freed up your energy for better opportunities. You observe how challenges developed qualities in you that became essential for your later success. This perspective is particularly powerful when dealing with rejection. Instead of taking rejection personally or seeing it as evidence of your inadequacy, you can recognize it as redirection. The job that didn't hire you, the investor who didn't fund you, the person who didn't date you, the publisher who didn't accept your manuscript. Each rejection is potentially saving you from a situation that wouldn't have served your highest good. The timing of setbacks often reveals their true purpose. What seems like terrible timing in the moment frequently proves to be perfect timing in retrospect. The delay that frustrated you created space for a better opportunity. The loss that devastated you made you available for something more aligned with your values. The failure that embarrassed you taught you lessons you needed before your next success. This doesn't mean you should seek out setbacks or become comfortable with mediocrity. It means trusting that when setbacks do occur, they're part of a larger pattern that's ultimately working in your favor. This trust allows you to bounce back faster, learn the lessons more quickly, and move forward with renewed determination rather than diminished confidence. One of the most important skills you can develop is what researchers call benefit finding, the ability to identify positive outcomes that result from negative experiences. When you actively look for how each setback is serving your growth, teaching you valuable lessons, or redirecting you toward better opportunities, you maintain your forward momentum instead of getting stuck in disappointment. The language you use to describe setbacks is crucial. When you call them failures, you're programming your mind to see them as endings. But when you call them redirections, lessons, plot twists, or course corrections, you maintain the expectation that they're part of your success story rather than deviations from it. Your emotional response to setbacks also determines how quickly you can transform them into comebacks. When you allow yourself to feel disappointed without becoming devastated, angry without becoming bitter, or concerned without becoming hopeless, you maintain the emotional agility needed to spot and seize the opportunities that setbacks often create. The most profound realization is that what you initially perceive as setbacks often turn out to be the most important events in your success story. The moments that challenged you the most, taught you the most, stretched you the most, and ultimately transformed you the most. When you truly understand this, you begin to welcome challenges as signs that you're being prepared for something greater than you previously imagined. Chapter 8. Relationships and social connections. Your relationships are both a reflection of and a contributing factor to your belief that everything always works out. When you truly embody this mindset, it transforms how you show up in relationships, how you attract people into your life, and how you navigate the inevitable challenges that arise in human connections. Acting as if everything works out doesn't just change your career or finances. It fundamentally alters the quality of your relationships. People are naturally drawn to those who operate from a place of genuine confidence and positive expectation. There's something magnetic about someone who believes in good outcomes, who sees possibilities where others see problems, and who maintains their positive energy even during difficult times. This isn't about fake optimism or toxic positivity. It's about the deep peace and strength that comes from truly trusting that everything is unfolding as it should. When you act as if everything always works out, you stop being needy in relationships. You don't desperately cling to people out of fear that you won't find better connections. You don't compromise your values or tolerate poor treatment because you're afraid of being alone. Instead, you approach relationships from a place of wholeness, offering your authentic self and expecting others to do the same. This shift in your energetic approach to relationships creates a completely different dynamic. Instead of attracting people who are drawn to your neediness or weakness, you attract people who appreciate your strength and authenticity. Instead of relationships based on mutual lack or fear, you create relationships based on mutual abundance and growth. In romantic relationships, acting as if everything works out means trusting that the right person will appear at the right time. Rather than trying to force connections with incompatible partners, it means believing that love is your natural state and that you deserve a relationship that enhances your life rather than complicates it. This belief changes how you date, how you communicate in relationships, and how you handle breakups. When challenges arise in relationships, as they inevitably do, your belief that everything works out allows you to approach these challenges as opportunities for deeper connection rather than threats to the relationship. Instead of immediately assuming the worst when your partner is upset or distant, you can assume they're dealing with something and approach them with curiosity and compassion. This doesn't mean ignoring red flags or accepting unacceptable behavior. It means giving people the benefit of the doubt when appropriate, communicating from a place of love rather than fear, and trusting that healthy relationships can navigate difficulties successfully. When you believe that everything works out, you don't panic at the first sign of conflict. You address issues calmly and confidently, which usually leads to resolution rather than escalation. Your family relationships are also transformed when you operate from this mindset. Instead of trying to change or control family members who frustrate you, you can accept them as they are while maintaining appropriate boundaries. You can love them without needing their approval or validation. You can participate in family dynamics without being dragged down by family drama. This is particularly powerful when dealing with difficult relatives or family situations. When you truly believe that everything is working out perfectly, you can maintain your peace and positivity even in challenging family environments. You become a source of stability and calm, rather than another participant in whatever dysfunction exists. Friendships also evolve when you embody this mindset. You naturally gravitate toward friends who share your positive outlook and support your growth, while relationships with chronically negative or energy-draining people tend to fade away naturally. You stop trying to fix or save friends who don't want to change, and you stop tolerating friendships that consistently leave you feeling worse rather than better. Your professional relationships are equally affected. When you believe that everything works out, you approach workplace relationships with confidence and authenticity. You're more likely to speak up in meetings, offer creative ideas, and take on leadership roles because you trust that your contributions will be well received and that good things will come from stepping up. You also handle workplace conflicts differently. Instead of taking things personally or assuming the worst about colleagues' motivations, you can approach disagreements with curiosity and a genuine desire for win-win solutions. This makes you someone people want to work with rather than someone they try to avoid. The way you handle social situations also changes dramatically. Instead of feeling anxious about meeting new people or worried about whether you'll be accepted, you can enter social situations with genuine interest in others and confidence in your own worth. This natural confidence makes you more approachable and interesting to others. When you act as if everything works out, you become the kind of person others turn to during difficult times. Your calm confidence and positive perspective make you a source of strength and hope for friends and family members who are struggling. You become a leader and influencer in your social circles, not through manipulation or self-promotion, but through the natural magnetism of someone who genuinely believes in positive possibilities. Perhaps most importantly, your relationship with yourself improves dramatically when you embrace this mindset. You stop being your own worst critic and become your own best supporter. You treat yourself with the same kindness and patience you would offer a good friend. You trust your instincts and decisions more readily because you believe that even your mistakes will ultimately serve your highest good. This improved relationship with yourself creates a positive ripple effect in all your other relationships. When you're not constantly seeking validation or approval from others, you can show up as your authentic self. When you're not afraid of rejection or abandonment, you can love more freely and deeply. When you trust that everything works out, you can be present and genuine in your connections, rather than strategic or defensive. The cumulative effect is that your entire social world begins to reflect your inner belief. You find yourself surrounded by people who believe in you, support your dreams, and share your positive outlook on life. Your relationships become a source of joy and strength rather than stress and drama. You discover that when you truly believe everything works out, it shows up first and most clearly in the quality of your human connections. Chapter 9. Taking inspired action from certainty. Acting as if everything always works out is not about passive waiting or wishful thinking. It's about taking action from a place of inner certainty, rather than fear, desperation, or anxiety. When you truly believe that everything is working in your favor, your actions become inspired rather than forced, strategic rather than reactive, and powerful rather than scattered. This shift in the energy behind your actions transforms both the process and the results of your efforts. Most people take action from a place of lack or fear. They're motivated by what they're trying to avoid rather than what they're trying to create. They work long hours because they're afraid of financial insecurity. They network aggressively because they're afraid of missing opportunities. They say yes to everything because they're afraid of disappointing people. This fear-based action creates stress, burnout, and often produces mediocre results because the energy behind it is constricted and desperate. But when you act from the certainty that everything always works out, your motivation comes from a completely different source. You're not running away from problems. You're running toward possibilities. You're not trying to prove yourself. You're expressing yourself. You're not forcing outcomes. You're aligning with them. This shift in motivation changes everything about how you work and what you accomplish. Inspired action feels different than forced action. When you're taking inspired action, you have energy for your tasks rather than feeling drained by them. You find creative solutions rather than getting stuck in problems. You make decisions quickly and confidently rather than second-guessing everything. You attract support and cooperation rather than having to push and convince. The key to taking inspired action is learning to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of wisdom within you. Fear-based thinking generates actions that feel heavy, urgent, and complicated. Wisdom-based thinking generates actions that feel natural, timely, and elegant. When you're operating from the certainty that everything works out, you can trust the guidance that emerges from your wiser self. This doesn't mean you never feel uncomfortable or challenged. Growth always involves some level of discomfort. But there's a difference between the discomfort that comes from stretching beyond your comfort zone and the discomfort that comes from forcing yourself in the wrong direction. Inspired action might feel challenging, but it doesn't feel wrong. One of the most important skills you can develop is learning to wait for inspired action rather than taking any action just to feel like you're doing something. When you're anxious or impatient, there's a tendency to take action for the sake of action, even when that action isn't aligned with your goals or values. But when you trust that everything is working out perfectly, you can wait for the right action to become clear. This patience doesn't mean procrastination. It means developing the discernment to know when to act and when to wait, when to push and when to allow, when to speak and when to listen. This discernment comes from trusting your inner guidance rather than external pressures or timelines that may not be appropriate for your unique situation. When you take inspired action, you often find that the results exceed your expectations. This is because inspired action is aligned with natural forces and opportunities that forced action often works against. You find yourself in the right place, at the right time, more frequently. You meet exactly the people you need to meet. Resources and support appear just when you need them. This alignment creates what some people call synchronicity or flow. When you're taking inspired action from a place of certainty, life begins to feel more magical and effortless. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. Opportunities arise that are better than what you originally planned. Solutions appear that solve multiple problems at once. Your decision-making process also transforms when you operate from this place of certainty. Instead of agonizing over every choice, weighing endless pros and cons, and seeking validation from others, you can make decisions quickly and confidently. You trust that even if a decision doesn't turn out as expected, it will lead you exactly where you need to go. This confidence in your decision-making ability is incredibly liberating. You stop second-guessing yourself constantly. You stop seeking permission from others to pursue your dreams. You stop waiting for perfect information before taking action. You understand that the willingness to make decisions and course-correct as needed is more valuable than the ability to make perfect decisions. The energy you bring to your work also changes dramatically. When you believe that everything is working out perfectly, you can enjoy the process rather than just focusing on the outcome. You can be present and creative in your daily tasks, rather than constantly thinking about what comes next. You can collaborate more effectively with others because you're not trying to control everything. This presence and enjoyment in your work often leads to higher quality results. When you're not stressed and anxious, your mind is clearer and more creative. When you're not trying to force outcomes, you're more open to unexpected solutions. When you're enjoying what you're doing, others want to support and participate in your efforts. Your relationship with challenges also changes when you take inspired action. Instead of seeing obstacles as evidence that you're on the wrong path, you see them as puzzles to solve or skills to develop. You approach problems with curiosity and creativity rather than frustration and resistance. You often find that what initially seemed like a barrier was actually pointing you toward a better solution. Perhaps, most importantly, taking inspired action from certainty creates a positive feedback loop. Each time you act from this place and see positive results, your trust in the process deepens. Each success reinforces your belief that everything is working out, which makes it easier to take inspired action in the future. Over time, this becomes your natural way of operating in the world. The cumulative effect is that your entire life begins to feel like a creative collaboration with the universe, rather than a struggle against it. You become someone who consistently creates results that exceed expectations, not through force or manipulation, but through alignment with the natural flow of success and opportunity. Chapter 10. Building unshakable faith. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It's the presence of trust, despite uncertainty. When you're building the unshakable faith that everything always works out, you're not trying to eliminate all questions or concerns. You're developing the ability to maintain your positive expectation and forward momentum, even when external circumstances seem to suggest that you should worry, doubt, or give up. This kind of faith is built through experience, not through wishful thinking. Every time you choose to act as if things are working out, and then witness positive results, you add another layer of evidence to your growing conviction Every time you face a challenge with trust, rather than fear, and see how it ultimately serves your growth, you strengthen your faith in the process. The foundation of unshakable faith is the recognition that you've survived 100% of your challenges so far. Every difficult situation you've ever faced has either been resolved or has taught you something valuable. Every door that closed led to a better door opening. Every loss made space for something more aligned with your true desires. When you really examine your life history, you find abundant evidence that things do indeed work out, often in ways better than you could have planned. This historical evidence becomes the bedrock of your faith going forward. Instead of focusing on the uncertainty of future challenges, you can focus on the certainty of your ability to navigate them successfully. Instead of wondering if you'll be able to handle whatever comes next, you can trust in your proven resilience and adaptability. Building unshakable faith also requires understanding the difference between faith and attachment. Faith trusts that things will work out perfectly. Attachment insists that they work out in a specific way. When you're attached to particular outcomes, your faith wavers whenever circumstances don't match your expectations. But when your faith is in the process rather than specific results, you can remain steady regardless of how things unfold. This detachment from specific outcomes doesn't mean you become passive or stop having preferences. It means you hold your preferences lightly, trusting that what you receive will be what serves you best, even if it's different from what you originally wanted. This flexibility allows your faith to remain strong even when your plans change. One of the most powerful practices for building faith is gratitude for things that haven't happened yet. When you can genuinely feel grateful for future blessings before they manifest, you're demonstrating absolute faith in positive outcomes. This practice trains your mind to expect good things and your heart to remain open to receiving them. This doesn't mean pretending to feel grateful for things you don't actually want. It means connecting with the feeling of appreciation for the good you know is coming, even if you can't see exactly how or when it will arrive. This emotional state of anticipated gratitude is one of the highest vibrations you can maintain. Prayer and meditation can be powerful tools for building faith, regardless of your religious beliefs. These practices connect you with something larger than your individual concerns and help you remember that you're supported by forces beyond your conscious control. Whether you call it God, the universe, Source, or simply the interconnectedness of all life, connecting with this larger perspective strengthens your faith in positive outcomes. The people you surround yourself with have a significant impact on your ability to maintain faith. When you spend time with people who share your belief that life is fundamentally good and that challenges are opportunities for growth, their faith reinforces your own. Conversely, spending too much time with people who see life as a series of problems to endure can weaken your faith over time. This doesn't mean avoiding all people who are going through difficult times. It means choosing to spend the majority of your time with people whose overall worldview supports your faith rather than undermines it. You can still offer support and compassion to others without absorbing their limiting beliefs about what's possible. Reading books, listening to podcasts, and consuming content that reinforces your faith is also important. When you regularly expose yourself to stories of people who overcame seemingly impossible challenges, who created extraordinary success from humble beginnings, or who found meaning and growth in their darkest moments, you strengthen your own belief in positive possibilities. Your faith is also built through small daily acts of trust. Each time you choose to believe in a positive outcome rather than worrying about a negative one, you're exercising your faith muscle. Each time you act as if good things are coming rather than preparing for the worst, you're demonstrating trust in the process. These small acts compound over time into unshakable conviction. The ultimate test of your faith comes during what might be called the dark night of the soul. Those periods when everything seems to be falling apart, and you can't see any reason for optimism. These are the moments that either break people or forge them into something stronger. When you can maintain your faith during these times, not through denial or false positivity, but through deep trust in the ultimate goodness of life, your faith becomes truly unshakable. The paradox of faith is that the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And the stronger it becomes, the less you need to use it consciously. Eventually, trusting that everything always works out becomes your default setting rather than something you have to remind yourself to believe. This creates a life of ease and flow that seems almost magical to others, but feels perfectly natural to you. When your faith becomes unshakable, you discover that you were never really acting as if everything always works out. You are simply recognizing and aligning with a fundamental truth about the nature of reality. Life is always conspiring in your favor, even when appearances suggest otherwise. Your faith doesn't create this truth. It simply allows you to experience it consistently. Chapter 11. Mastering the Art of Detached Involvement. One of the most sophisticated aspects of acting as if everything always works out is learning to be fully engaged in creating your desired outcomes, while remaining emotionally detached from whether they manifest in the exact way you envision. This paradoxical state of detached involvement allows you to put forth maximum effort while maintaining inner peace, to care deeply about your goals while not being devastated if they unfold differently than planned. Most people operate from one of two extremes. Either they're so attached to specific outcomes that they become anxious, controlling, and resistant to any deviation from their plans, or they're so detached that they become passive, unmotivated, and unwilling to put forth the effort required for success. But mastery lies in the middle path, where you can be simultaneously passionate and peaceful, committed and flexible, determined and trusting. This state of detached involvement is what allows the most successful people to maintain their sanity and effectiveness, even under enormous pressure. They care deeply about their work and goals, but they don't derive their self-worth from specific results. They put forth extraordinary effort, but they don't become desperate or frantic when things don't go according to plan. They remain open to outcomes that might be even better than what they originally envisioned. The key to mastering detached involvement is understanding that your job is to plant seeds, water them consistently, and create the best possible conditions for growth. But you cannot control the exact timing, size, or color of the flowers that bloom. Your role is to do your part with complete dedication while trusting that the universe will do its part in ways that serve your highest good. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent to outcomes or lowering your standards. It means holding your vision with passionate commitment while remaining flexible about how that vision manifests. It means working as hard as someone who believes everything depends on their effort while trusting as deeply as someone who believes everything is taken care of by forces beyond their control. The practice of detached involvement begins with clarifying your true desires versus your ego's demands. Your true desires are usually simple and aligned with your authentic self. To feel fulfilled, to contribute meaningfully, to experience love and connection, to grow and expand your capabilities. Your ego's demands are often complex and based on external validation. To be recognized as the best, to prove your worth to specific people, to achieve particular status symbols. When you're aligned with your true desires, detachment becomes much easier because you're open to multiple ways these desires can be fulfilled. But when you're driven by ego demands, detachment feels threatening because you've convinced yourself that only one specific outcome can provide what you need. Detached involvement also requires developing what Buddhists call beginner's mind, approaching each situation with fresh eyes rather than rigid expectations based on past experiences. When you assume you know exactly how things should unfold, you become attached to that prediction. But when you remain curious about how things might unfold, you stay open to possibilities you hadn't considered. This openness is crucial because the universe often has solutions that are far more elegant and effective than what your limited perspective can imagine. The business opportunity that's better than the job you didn't get. The romantic partner who's more compatible than the one who rejected you. The creative project that emerges from the failure of your original plan. One of the most practical applications of detached involvement is in your daily decision-making process. Instead of agonizing over every choice because you're attached to making the right decision, you can make the best decision you can with current information while remaining open to course corrections as new information emerges. This approach reduces anxiety and increases agility. Detached involvement also transforms how you handle criticism and praise. When you're attached to specific outcomes, criticism feels like a threat to your goals, and praise feels like validation of your worth. But when you're practicing detached involvement, both criticism and praise become simply information that can help you improve your approach without defining your value as a person. This emotional equilibrium is particularly powerful in leadership roles. Leaders who practice detached involvement can make difficult decisions without being paralyzed by the need to please everyone. They can take calculated risks without being devastated if those risks don't pay off. They can inspire others with their vision while adapting that vision based on feedback and changing circumstances. The financial implications of detached involvement are significant. When you're attached to money as a measure of your worth or security, you make financial decisions from fear rather than wisdom. You might stay in unfulfilling jobs because you're afraid of financial instability. Or conversely, you might make reckless investments because you're desperate for quick returns. But when you practice detached involvement with money, you can make strategic financial decisions while trusting that your needs will be met regardless of specific outcomes. In relationships, detached involvement allows you to love deeply without becoming possessive or controlling. You can care about someone's well-being without trying to manage their choices. You can desire specific outcomes for your relationships while accepting that others have their own path to follow. This creates space for authentic connection rather than codependency. The spiritual dimension of detached involvement is perhaps its most profound aspect. When you truly master this principle, you begin to sense that there's an intelligence far greater than your individual consciousness that's orchestrating events in ways that serve everyone's highest good. This recognition allows you to relax your need to control outcomes while increasing your commitment to playing your part with excellence. This doesn't require belief in any particular religious or spiritual system. It simply requires recognizing that there are forces at work beyond your conscious awareness, market forces, social dynamics, natural cycles, technological evolution, and that your individual efforts are most effective when they're aligned with these larger currents, rather than fighting against them. The practice of detached involvement ultimately leads to what many traditions call effortless effort, a state where you're working at full capacity but without strain, where you're completely focused but not tense, where you're pursuing ambitious goals but not anxious about results. This is the state where peak performance feels natural rather than forced. When you master detached involvement, you discover that you can have intense preferences without painful attachments, passionate goals without desperate neediness, and unwavering commitment without rigid expectations. You become someone who can navigate any challenge with grace while remaining open to miracles you never could have planned. Chapter 12. Creating your reality through consistent alignment. Acting as if everything always works out is not just a mental exercise or emotional practice. It's a comprehensive way of being that must be embodied consistently across all areas of your life. True mastery comes when your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions are all aligned with the belief that life is working in your favor. This alignment between your inner state and outer expression is what actually creates the reality you experience. Most people live in a state of internal contradiction. They might think positive thoughts while feeling anxious emotions. They might speak confidently while taking actions based on fear. They might believe in abundance while behaving from scarcity. These contradictions create mixed signals that generate mixed results. But when all aspects of your being are aligned with the same empowering belief, you become a powerful creative force. This alignment begins with your thought patterns. Every thought you think is either reinforcing your belief that things work out or undermining it. When you catch your mind wandering into worry, doubt, or catastrophic thinking, you have an opportunity to consciously redirect it toward thoughts that support your desired reality. This isn't about forcing fake positivity, but about choosing thoughts that empower rather than disempower you. Your emotional state must also align with your belief. Emotions are energy in motion, and the emotions you maintain most consistently become the creative force behind your experiences. When you genuinely feel grateful, excited, and expectant about your future, you're generating the emotional energy that attracts positive experiences. When you feel worried, angry, or hopeless, you're generating the emotional energy that attracts more experiences to worry about. The key is learning to manage your emotional state consciously, rather than allowing it to be determined by external circumstances. This doesn't mean suppressing negative emotions when they arise naturally, but it means not dwelling in them unnecessarily and actively cultivating positive emotions through practices like gratitude, appreciation, and celebration of small wins. Your words carry tremendous creative power. Every time you speak, you're either reinforcing your belief that everything works out or contradicting it. When you complain constantly, gossip about others' problems, or speak about your own challenges as if they're permanent and insurmountable, you're using the power of speech to create more of what you don't want. But when you speak with confidence about your goals, express gratitude for your blessings, and discuss challenges as temporary situations that are teaching you valuable lessons, you're using your words to create the reality you desire. This doesn't mean denying problems or pretending everything is perfect, but it means speaking about your life in ways that support positive outcomes rather than negative ones. Your actions are perhaps the most important aspect of alignment because they represent your true beliefs regardless of what you say you believe. You might claim to believe that everything works out, but if your actions are driven by fear, scarcity, or desperation, then fear, scarcity, and desperation are your actual operating beliefs. True alignment means taking actions that demonstrate your faith in positive outcomes. This might mean investing in your growth even when money is tight because you believe in your future earning potential. It might mean ending relationships that don't serve you because you believe better connections are possible. It might mean pursuing opportunities that stretch you because you believe in your ability to rise to the occasion. Your physical environment also needs to align with your belief. The spaces you inhabit either support your positive mindset or undermine it. A cluttered, chaotic environment tends to create cluttered, chaotic thinking. A beautiful, organized environment tends to support clear, positive thinking. This doesn't mean you need to live in luxury, but it means creating spaces that reflect the abundance and positivity you want to experience. The media you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the activities you participate in all need to align with your belief system. If you're constantly exposing yourself to negative news, toxic social media, or people who drain your energy, you're working against your own alignment. Choose inputs that support your positive worldview while staying reasonably informed about important developments. Your daily routines and habits are where alignment is most powerfully expressed. The way you start your morning sets the tone for your entire day. If you begin with gratitude, positive intentions, and activities that energize you, you're aligning your day with success. If you begin by checking negative news, rushing through your preparation, or immediately diving into stressful tasks, you're creating misalignment from the very start. The goals you set and pursue must also align with your belief that everything works out. Goals that come from fear, social pressure, or ego validation create internal conflict, even when achieved. But goals that emerge from your authentic desires and align with your values create a sense of excitement and anticipation that supports your positive expectations. Your financial behaviors are a particularly important area of alignment. How you earn, spend, save, and invest money reveals your true beliefs about abundance and scarcity. When your financial behaviors align with abundance thinking, being generous, investing in growth, making purchases that reflect self-respect, you reinforce your belief that there's always enough. Perhaps most importantly, your relationship with yourself must align with your belief that everything works out. This means treating yourself with kindness, patience, and respect. It means celebrating your successes and learning from your mistakes without harsh self-judgment. It means trusting your instincts and honoring your needs while maintaining appropriate relationships with others. The process of achieving consistent alignment is ongoing because life constantly presents new situations that test your commitment to this way of being. Each challenge is an opportunity to choose alignment over contradiction, empowerment over disempowerment, faith over fear. When you achieve true alignment, you experience what many people call flow states on a regular basis. Work feels effortless, relationships feel harmonious, and opportunities appear regularly. This isn't because life has become problem-free, but because you're approaching every situation from a place of inner coherence and positive expectation. The cumulative effect of consistent alignment is that you become a person who naturally attracts success, happiness, and fulfillment. Not through manipulation or strategy, but through the simple power of being internally consistent with empowering beliefs. Your outer world begins to mirror your inner alignment, and acting as if everything works out becomes simply an accurate description of your lived experience. Chapter 13. The compound effect of positive expectation. Small, consistent choices made from the belief that everything always works out create compound effects that transform your entire life over time. Just as money invested wisely grows exponentially through compound interest, positive expectations invested consistently in your daily thoughts, decisions, and actions create exponential improvements in every area of your experience. The compound effect operates below the threshold of immediate visibility, which is why most people don't recognize its power until the results become undeniable. Each individual choice to trust rather than worry, to focus on solutions rather than problems, to expect good outcomes rather than bad ones, seems insignificant in the moment. But these choices accumulate over time, creating momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Consider how this works in your career. Every time you approach a project with the expectation that you'll find creative solutions and produce excellent results, you bring a different energy to your work. You're more likely to persist when challenges arise, more likely to notice opportunities for innovation, and more likely to collaborate effectively with others. These subtle differences in approach compound over months and years into a reputation for excellence and reliability. This reputation then opens doors that would have remained closed to someone who approaches work from anxiety and doubt. Better projects, stronger relationships, increased responsibility, and greater rewards all flow naturally from the accumulated effect of consistently positive expectations about your professional contributions. The same principle applies to your health. Each time you make food choices, exercise decisions, or stress management practices from the belief that your body is capable of vibrant health and longevity, you're making deposits in your health account. Individual healthy choices might seem to have minimal impact, but over time, they compound into energy levels, appearance, and physical capabilities that seem remarkable to others. Your financial situation is perhaps the most obvious area where the compound effect of positive expectation creates dramatic results. When you consistently make financial decisions from abundance rather than scarcity, from confidence rather than fear, you create upward momentum that eventually becomes self-sustaining. You invest in your skills, take calculated risks, and pursue opportunities because you expect them to pay off. These expectations influence not just what you choose to pursue, but how you pursue it. You negotiate more confidently, network more authentically, and persist longer because you believe in eventual success. This different approach to financial opportunities compounds over time into wealth that exceeds what pure salary or investment returns could have created alone. Your relationships also benefit from the compound effect of positive expectations. Every interaction where you assume good intentions, look for the best in others, and expect positive outcomes creates small deposits of goodwill and connection. Over time, these deposits compound into deep, meaningful relationships that provide support, joy, and opportunities throughout your life. People are naturally drawn to those who see their potential and expect their success. When you consistently interact with others from this positive expectation, You become someone others want to be around, work with, and support. Your network expands naturally, and the quality of your relationships deepens beyond what forced networking or relationship building could achieve. The compound effect is particularly powerful in personal development. Each time you choose growth over comfort, learning over certainty, and expansion over contraction, you build upon previous choices. Skills develop, confidence grows, and capabilities expand in ways that create exponential rather than linear progress. This is why people who truly embody the principle that everything works out often seem to experience sudden breakthroughs or overnight successes that are actually the result of years of compound growth. The actor who becomes an overnight sensation has been making positive choices about their craft for years. The entrepreneur who suddenly explodes onto the scene has been building skills and relationships for decades. The compound effect also works in reverse, which is why it's crucial to be conscious about the expectations you maintain. Negative expectations compound just as powerfully as positive ones. Every choice made from fear, doubt, or pessimism creates momentum in the direction of more experiences to feel fearful, doubtful, or pessimistic about. This is not about blame or judgment for past negative patterns, but about recognizing the power you have to change direction at any moment. The compound effect of positive expectations can begin immediately, regardless of how long you've been operating from negative ones. Each positive choice you make creates a new trajectory that will compound over time. The key to leveraging the compound effect is patience combined with consistency. You must be willing to make positive choices even when you can't see immediate results, trusting that these choices are creating momentum that will eventually become visible. This requires faith in the process rather than attachment to quick results. It's also important to celebrate small wins along the way. Each time you notice evidence that your positive expectations are creating positive outcomes, you reinforce the behavior and maintain motivation for continued positive choices. These celebrations create positive feedback loops that accelerate the compound effect. The compound effect of positive expectations eventually reaches a tipping point where positive outcomes become your normal experience rather than occasional pleasant surprises. Opportunities appear regularly. Relationships are consistently fulfilling. Challenges resolve more quickly. What others call luck becomes your standard operating procedure. At this advanced level, acting as if everything always works out is no longer an effort or practice. It's simply an accurate description of your lived reality. The compound effect of years of positive expectations has created a life where things genuinely do work out, usually better than you originally hoped or planned. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen inevitably for those who consistently maintain positive expectations over time. Every moment offers you the choice to make a deposit in your compound effect account. The question is whether you'll choose expectations that compound toward the life you want or away from it. Chapter 14. Living in the Flow of Miracles. When you truly master the art of acting as if everything always works out, you enter into what can only be described as the flow of miracles. This is a state of being where synchronicities become common, where opportunities appear just when you need them, where solutions to problems emerge from unexpected sources, and where life begins to feel like a beautiful dance rather than a difficult struggle. Living in the flow of miracles doesn't mean that challenges disappear or that life becomes effortlessly perfect. It means that you've aligned yourself so completely with positive expectation that you naturally attract experiences, people, and opportunities that support your highest good. What others call coincidences become your normal way of navigating the world. This flow state emerges when your inner certainty about positive outcomes becomes so strong and consistent that it creates what researchers call coherence between your heart and mind, between your thoughts and emotions, between your beliefs and actions. This coherence generates a powerful, energetic field that influences your environment in ways that seem magical but are actually the natural result of perfect alignment. The first sign that you're entering this flow is an increase in meaningful coincidences. You think about someone and they call. You need a specific piece of information and you overhear a conversation that provides exactly what you need. You're looking for a solution to a problem and you randomly encounter someone who has the perfect answer. These experiences begin happening so frequently that you start to expect them rather than being surprised by them. Another indication is the appearance of what you might call impossible opportunities. Doors open that should have remained closed. People offer help without being asked. Resources become available just when you need them. Obstacles that seemed insurmountable suddenly resolve themselves. These aren't violations of natural law. They're the natural result of being perfectly aligned with the forces that govern success and abundance. Your decision-making process also transforms when you're in this flow. Instead of agonizing over choices, you find that the right path becomes obvious. You develop what some call intuitive intelligence, the ability to know what to do without knowing why you know. You make decisions quickly and confidently, and they consistently turn out to be correct. This enhanced intuition comes from the deep trust you've developed in the process of life itself. When you truly believe that everything always works out, you stop trying to control every variable and start trusting your inner guidance. This trust allows you to access information and insights that aren't available to the analytical mind alone. People begin responding to you differently when you're living in this flow. They sense something unique about your energy and presence. They feel calm and optimistic around you. They want to help you succeed. They offer you opportunities and resources without being asked. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural human response to someone who embodies genuine confidence and positive expectation. Your creative abilities also expand dramatically in this state. Solutions to problems appear effortlessly. New ideas flow constantly. You see connections and possibilities that others miss. This enhanced creativity comes from the relaxed, open state of mind that results from trusting that everything is working out perfectly. The flow of miracles also affects your physical health and vitality. When your nervous system isn't constantly activated by fear and stress, your body's natural healing mechanisms function optimally. You have more energy, sleep better, and recover more quickly from illness or injury. Your physical appearance often improves as well, as the stress and tension that age the body are replaced by relaxation and joy. Your relationship with money transforms in remarkable ways when you're in this flow. Financial abundance begins to feel natural rather than elusive. Money comes from unexpected sources. Expenses decrease just when income increases. Investment opportunities appear at exactly the right time. You develop what some call prosperity consciousness, the deep knowing that there's always enough for what you truly need. Perhaps most significantly, your capacity for love and compassion expands when you're living in this flow. When you're not constantly worried about your own problems, you have more bandwidth to care about others. You become naturally generous with your time, attention, and resources. This generosity creates positive feedback loops that bring even more abundance into your life. The flow of miracles is sustained by gratitude. The more you appreciate the synchronicities and opportunities that appear, the more of them you attract. This creates an upward spiral where increased gratitude leads to more positive experiences, which leads to even greater gratitude. It's important to understand that this state isn't reserved for special people or achieved through complicated practices. It's the natural result of consistently acting as if everything always works out until this becomes your genuine, embodied truth. Anyone can access this flow by maintaining positive expectations consistently enough for them to become automatic. The challenge is staying in this flow when external circumstances seem to suggest you should return to worry or doubt. This requires what might be called advanced faith, the ability to maintain your positive expectations even when temporary evidence suggests they might be misplaced. When you're truly living in the flow of miracles, you realize that you were never really acting as if everything works out. You were simply recognizing and aligning with a fundamental truth about the nature of reality. The universe is inherently benevolent, constantly seeking to support life, growth, and expansion. When you align yourself with this truth, miracles aren't extraordinary occurrences, they're your ordinary experience. Chapter 15. Your new reality. When acting becomes being. There comes a moment in the journey of acting, as if everything always works out, when you realize you're no longer acting. The belief has become so integrated into every aspect of your being that it's simply who you are. You no longer have to remind yourself to trust that things will work out, because this trust has become your natural default setting. You've transformed from someone who practices positive expectation to someone who embodies it. This transformation marks the completion of what might be called your reality upgrade. You're now living in a version of reality where good things happening to you feels normal, where challenges are met with curiosity rather than anxiety, where opportunities appear regularly, and where life consistently exceeds your expectations. What once required conscious effort now happens automatically. The shift from acting to being is usually gradual and may not be immediately obvious. You might first notice that you've stopped worrying about certain things that used to consume your thoughts. You realize you're making decisions more quickly and confidently. You observe that you're more at peace with uncertainty. You discover that you expect good news rather than bad news, positive outcomes rather than negative ones. People around you begin to notice this transformation as well. They comment on your calm confidence, your positive energy, your ability to remain centered during challenging times. They start coming to you for advice and support because they sense your inner stability and wisdom. You become someone others look to as an example of how to navigate life successfully. Your problem-solving abilities have evolved dramatically. Where others see obstacles, you naturally see opportunities. Where others get stuck in analysis paralysis, you quickly identify solutions and take action. Where others become overwhelmed by complexity, you find simple, elegant approaches. This isn't because you've learned specific techniques, but because your entire mental operating system has been upgraded. The quality of your relationships has transformed as well. You attract people who resonate with your positive energy and naturally drift away from those who drain your resources or energy. Your connections are deeper, more authentic, and more mutually supportive. You give and receive love more freely because you're no longer operating from fear of loss or scarcity of affection. Your professional life has likely evolved in ways you couldn't have predicted when you first began this journey. You might be in a completely different career, or you might be doing the same work, but with dramatically different results. Either way, your work feels more aligned with your authentic self, more fulfilling, and more prosperous than before. The financial abundance you're experiencing goes beyond just having more money. You've developed a healthy, empowered relationship with money, where you see it as energy that flows naturally through your life. You're generous without being reckless, abundant without being wasteful, and prosperous without being greedy. Money serves your values rather than controlling them. Your physical health has likely improved as well. The chronic stress that accompanies constant worry and doubt has been replaced by the vitality that comes from inner peace and positive anticipation. Your body functions more optimally because your nervous system spends more time in states of rest and repair rather than fight or flight. Perhaps most remarkably, your capacity for joy and appreciation has expanded exponentially. You find genuine pleasure in simple moments that you might have overlooked before. You feel grateful not just for major blessings but for small daily gifts. You experience what researchers call eudaimonic well-being, a deep sense of meaning and fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with your highest potential. The synchronicities and coincidences that once amazed you have become so common that you expect them. You routinely find yourself in the right place at the right time. You regularly meet exactly the people you need to meet. You consistently receive information, opportunities, and resources precisely when you need them. This isn't luck. It's the natural result of being in perfect harmony with the flow of life. Your relationship with challenges has been completely transformed. You no longer fear problems because you've experienced repeatedly that they always contain gifts. You approach difficulties with curiosity rather than resistance because you trust that they're redirecting you towards something better or teaching you something valuable. What others call crises, you recognize as transitions. You've also developed what might be called prophetic sight, the ability to see potential positive outcomes that others miss. When faced with uncertain situations, you naturally envision successful resolutions. When others see endings, you see new beginnings. When others see limitations, you see possibilities. This isn't naive optimism. It's trained perception based on consistent experience. Your influence on others has expanded naturally as well. Without trying to convince anyone of anything, you inspire others simply by being who you are. Your example demonstrates that it's possible to live with confidence, joy, and abundance, regardless of external circumstances. You become a lighthouse, showing others that there's another way to navigate life. The peace you experience is perhaps the most profound aspect of this transformation. It's not the absence of activity or challenge, but the presence of deep trust. You rest in the knowing that no matter what happens, you have everything you need to not just survive but thrive. This peace passes understanding because it's not based on external conditions but on internal alignment. As you reflect on your journey from acting as if everything always works out to genuinely knowing that it does, you realize that you haven't actually changed the external world. You've changed your relationship with it. The same challenges exist. The same uncertainties persist. But you now have a completely different operating system for navigating them. This new reality you're living in was always available to you. The difference is that you now have the eyes to see it, the heart to feel it, and the wisdom to trust it. You've discovered that acting as if everything always works out isn't a technique or strategy. It's a way of aligning with the fundamental goodness and intelligence of life itself. Your story has become living proof that transformation is possible, that people can change their reality by changing their relationship with it, and that what seems like magic is actually the natural result of perfect alignment with the forces that govern success, happiness, and fulfillment. You are now someone who doesn't just believe that everything always works out. You know it, you live it, and you embody it for the benefit of all who encounter your presence.